If I'd known my husband's mother would turn our whole lives upside down, maybe I'd have run the other way at our wedding where she wore a long ivory dress and a matching veil, outshining half the guests. That was just the beginning. My husband's family was dysfunctional as heck, but I still wanted to believe we could make it work for our kids. I remember the first time I met his brothers, Terrence and Marcus, at their weirdly cold apartment in the middle of a Chicago summer. They had the AC blasting like it was a meat locker. "Hey, can I turn it down?" I asked, shivering. "Oh, so now you think you can just make demands in our house?" Terrence snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. Still, compared to their mom, the brothers seemed almost normal. The real trouble started at Marcus's birthday. My mother-in-law spent half the party spilling Terrence's secrets, then would turn around and tell Terrence awful things about Marcus. It was like she needed drama to survive, and I realized then she'd always need to be the center of attention, especially if it meant making someone else look bad. I should have learned my lesson, but I still wanted my child to have a relationship with her grandmother. When our gender reveal party rolled around, I invited her kind of. I told her the party started an hour and a half later than it really did, hoping she'd miss the main event. Somehow, she still managed to show up at the exact worst time. I'd barely cut the cake, blue frosting everywhere when I realized something was off. Every single gift was for a boy: baby sneakers, trucks, dinosaur toys. My instinct screamed that she was behind it, and as soon as I pulled her aside, she blurted out, "Hope you're here to thank me." I couldn't believe it. My husband, trying to keep the peace, finally snapped. "You've had your whole life to be the center of attention. Can you let us have just one night?" His mom's face turned red, eyes burning holes through me. He grabbed her shoes, handed her coat to her, and basically showed her the door. That should have been the end of it. But things didn't calm down. My pregnancy went smoothly, but we decided to skip another ultrasound. No need, we thought. My husband put all his energy into preparing for our baby boy Owen, painting the room blue, putting up Spider-Man lights from IKEA, building shelves. I was so swollen from pregnancy I could barely move, but watching him nest made me feel lucky, despite the chaos with his family. The day our baby finally arrived, everything flipped upside down. After hours in labor, I delivered a healthy baby girl, not the boy we'd prepared for. In the waiting room, my mother-in-law fumed as my husband, stunned, hissed, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I spent days and hundreds of dollars getting ready for a boy. She just cackled so loud even the nurses stared. My husband had enough. He called security and told her she was never meeting our daughter. But peace didn't last long. One morning, just as we were starting to settle in with our newborn Bella, a knock on the door changed everything. It wasn't my mother-in-law, it was a CPS worker, AirPod in one ear, chewing gum, barely looking at me as she barged into the house. "Ma'am, we got a tip you're forcing your baby to be transgender. Do you have anyone who can take custody if needed?" My head spun. Tears stung my eyes as I tried to explain the absurdity of it. All milk stains on my shirt, 2 days since a shower, now fighting for my daughter. Thankfully, the CPS visit was over almost as soon as it began. After a humiliating inspection and a flood of questions, the worker realized there was nothing wrong with Bella or our home. Still, the experience left me rattled, and my husband and I agreed we couldn't risk staying so close to his mother anymore. Within weeks, we'd packed up our lives and moved to a suburb no one in his family knew, desperate for a fresh start and a layer of safety between us and her obsession. Moving with a newborn was pure chaos. Every box I taped shut felt like another chapter one was closing, but also a reminder that we were running, not truly free. Still, the new house gave us hope. Sunlight streamed through big windows as Bella giggled on her playmat. My husband landed a better job, the neighbors were friendly, and for a while, it felt like we were finally a normal family. But peace never lasts when you're dealing with someone like her. It started with a weirdly casual Facebook message from Marcus. "Hey, just checking in. Haven't heard from you guys in a while." He'd never been the type to randomly reach out. A week later, Terrence called my husband for a long, surface-level chat sports, work, but nothing about the move or mother-in-law. It felt too normal, almost rehearsed. "Do you think she's putting them up to it?" I asked after the call, but my husband just shook his head, tension in his jaw. I tried to ignore the uneasy feeling, but it only grew. Every time I checked the mail or walked Bella in her stroller, I felt eyes on us. Then a package arrived addressed to baby Owen, with no return address. Inside was a blue blanket and a note. "Grandma loves you." My hands shook as I stuffed the blanket deep into the trash. "She knows where we live," I told my husband, and that night we double-checked every lock, every window. The next day at the grocery store, my fears became reality. As I rounded the cereal aisle, there she was, my mother-in-law, standing perfectly still, watching us. Her smile was cold, her nails tapping a box of Cheerios. I spun the stroller around, knocking over a whole display as I bolted for the door. I barely got Bella buckled into her car seat before seeing my mother-in-law stroll calmly to her car, still smiling. She didn't have to follow as she just wanted me to know she could. That night, we installed security cameras and changed all our locks. My husband called his brothers, demanding to know if they'd leaked our address. Both denied it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that mother-in-law had more eyes and ears than we realized. The next morning, I found a business card slipped under our door. Corey Daniels, family lawyer, specializing in restraining orders and grandparents' rights, on the back, in elegant handwriting, first consultation free. Panic turned to nausea as I realized she might be preparing to drag us through the courts, using any means to insert herself into our lives again. My husband examined the card, his brow furrowed. "We'll meet with him tomorrow," he said quietly. That night, I lay awake, clutching Bella close, wondering how far my mother-in-law would go to get what she wanted. Meeting with Corey, the family lawyer, felt both terrifying and strangely hopeful. He listened as we described everything: the harassment, the CPS visit, the stalking at the store. "She doesn't have a real case for grandparents' rights," he assured us, "but that won't stop her from trying. Start documenting everything." Every call, every letter, every sighting. We left his office with a stack of paperwork that felt heavier than all the moving boxes combined. For 2 weeks, the world was eerily quiet. I flinched at every knock, studied every car driving past our house, and scanned my emails and mail for anything out of place. The fortress we built: cameras, motion lights, new routines became our new normal. Then the letters started arriving, not just at home, but at my workplace, my husband's office, even Bella's pediatrician. Each envelope contained the same venom, that we were unfit parents, confusing our daughter about her gender, and in need of intervention. The envelopes were always the same plain white, typed addresses, no return information. One day my boss, Tatum, called me in, sliding an envelope across their desk. "I know this is all lies, but you should know what's being said," they said, concern in their eyes. My hands shook as I opened the letter pages of wild accusations about postpartum psychosis and how I was projecting gender confusion onto my baby. It was signed a concerned grandmother. I barely held back tears, but Tatum just shook their head. "Don't worry, I've got your back, but you might want to warn your other references." That afternoon, I called everyone old bosses, our landlord, Bella's daycare. Most had already received similar letters. The director at the daycare, Brenda, was especially upset. "Someone's been calling every day asking about Bella. At first, we thought it was you. But the voice was older. She claimed to be your emergency contact while you were having surgery." My stomach dropped. I updated all our contacts and added a password instructing everyone, never release information to anyone claiming to be grandma. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I discovered a Facebook group, Save Owen, with a profile picture of a blue balloon. The description read, "Supporting parents of gender-confused children. Special prayers for my grandson Owen, whose parents are forcing him to live as a girl named Bella." Within days, there were over 200 members. My sister found the group first and called me in tears. She's posting baby pictures. She's asking people to pray for divine intervention. The comments were filled with strangers offering help. I reported the group, but Facebook replied with the classic, "Doesn't violate our community standards." Like and subscribe for more true drama stories like this. The day before our court hearing, my mother-in-law made her boldest move yet. She showed up at Bella's daycare, introducing herself to parents as Bella's real grandmother and showing them photos. My heart pounded as I marched into the lobby, phone recording, Bella's car seat in my other hand. "What do you think you're doing?" I demanded. She smiled sweetly, but the other parents looked uncomfortable, backing away as tension crackled in the air. The confrontation at daycare was a turning point. As I stood my ground, other parents began to back me up. Arya, a mom I'd only met in passing, stepped forward. "I think you should leave. This isn't the place for family drama." My mother-in-law's face hardened. "You're all being manipulated," she spat, then pointed a manicured finger at me. "This isn't over. That boy deserves better." She stormed out, but the violation lingered. Brenda, the daycare director, handed me a glass of water and apologized. She claimed she was on the pickup list. When I checked, she was gone. The hearing itself was almost anticlimactic. My mother-in-law's lawyer tried to paint her as a loving grandmother alienated from her grandchild. Our lawyer, Corey, presented the real story: the false CPS report, the harassment, the Facebook group, the letters, the daycare incident. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, listened in silence before finally speaking. "Do you understand your grandchild is legally and medically female?" My mother-in-law sniffed and muttered about doctors making mistakes. The judge's expression hardened. "You are to remain at least 500 feet from this family at all times. No contact, no social media, no packages, no exceptions." The gavel cracked, sealing the restraining order for 3 years. For a moment, I felt safe. Bella started sitting up on her own, my husband repainted her nursery, and life finally felt almost normal again. Then another letter arrived, this time from Child and Family Services in the department, another investigation. Someone reported we were medically transitioning our 6-month-old daughter, claiming we were giving her hormones and puberty blockers. It was laughable, except it was real and terrifying. We turned again to Corey and Bella's pediatrician, Dr. Park, who wrote a statement confirming Bella was a healthy infant receiving only normal care. The case was dismissed almost immediately, but the toll was real: headaches, sleepless nights, constant anxiety. "She's getting desperate," my husband said, sifting through the growing stack of documentation. Every accusation is crazier than the last, but it didn't stop. One evening, my sister called, her voice urgent. "You won't believe this, she just applied for a job at my company, claiming to have a degree she doesn't have and years of nanny experience." It wasn't enough for criminal charges, but it was enough for the company to flag and reject her application. But then the attacks turned darker. My husband's brother Marcus called. "Mom's been telling people you're abusing Bella. She showed up at my place last night with photos of bruises, claiming they came from your house. The photos looked suspicious like makeup." Marcus, finally seeing through her lies, agreed to help us. "She's staying with Terrence, planning another anonymous tip to CPS. She says she has photos ready." That night, we prepared. Dr. Park examined Bella, documented her perfect skin, and wrote another statement. When CPS showed up, we showed them everything: medical records, security camera footage, and more. The worker looked almost apologetic as she closed the file. This looks like harassment. Off the record, you may want to consider moving out of state. The next day, I got a text, check your email. Marcus, there was a video, shaky, phone quality, but unmistakable. It showed my mother-in-law sitting at Terrence's kitchen table, carefully applying purple and yellow makeup to a doll's arm. These colors look most realistic, she said, voice cold and focused. Terrence asked, off camera, are you sure this is necessary? It doesn't matter if they find out, she replied. Every investigation takes a toll. Sooner or later, they'll give up. Then Owen will come live with us. I sent the video straight to Corey. His reply came in seconds. This is it. Now we can file real charges. The evidence changed everything. With the video in hand, Corey filed criminal charges against my mother-in-law for harassment, filing false reports, and attempting to defraud Child Protective Services. The police arrested her at Terrence's apartment the very next day. The story hit the local news. Grandmother arrested for false child abuse claims, though they left out our names to protect Bella. For the first time since Bella's birth, I felt like I could breathe again. But people like her don't give up easily. After posting bail, my mother-in-law was ordered to have no contact with us and to wear an ankle monitor. Still, her campaign continued. 3 days later, as I loaded groceries into the car, a woman approached me in the parking lot. Are you Bella's mom? She asked. Something about her smile felt off. Who's asking? I replied, instantly tense. I'm Amber, a friend of your mother-in-law. She's told me so much about little Owen. My blood ran cold. Her name is Bella. Please leave us alone. Amber's smile didn't fade. You can't keep that boy from his family forever. We're watching. We'll be there when you slip up. I drove home shaking, only to find Amber's business card tucked under my windshield wiper. Family advocate protecting children's true identities. Mother-in-law was recruiting others, building a network. I called my husband, then Corey, and sent him a photo of the card. This is a violation of the restraining order, Corey confirmed. The next day, our lawyer called an emergency hearing was scheduled. The judge reviewed the evidence, my statement, the card, and most damning security camera footage from the grocery store, showing Amber returning to a waiting car where my mother-in-law sat in the passenger seat. The judge wasn't fooled. This is a clear violation. Bail revoked. As the bailiff led her away, my mother-in-law screamed, "You'll regret this." They're abusing that boy. It was pure madness, but at least, for now, she was in custody. Even so, her network kept going. That morning, Brenda from daycare called. A woman named Amber tried to pick up Bella with a fake ID. She didn't know the password, so we refused. Police are investigating now. Relief and horror fought inside me. Bella was safe, but the danger was real and growing. Detective Willie Scott, assigned to our case, explained, "We're seeing signs of an organized harassment campaign. Document everything, change your routines, consider temporary relocation, but I refuse to run again. This is our home," I told him. "We're not moving." Support from friends and neighbors became our lifeline. Our y'all from daycare, other parents, even my boss Tatum all rallied around us. But the threats escalated. Anonymous letters, strange cars, even a website called Free Owen's Grandma listing our photos and address. Detective Scott's investigation grew, uncovering phone records linking my mother-in-law to at least 5 accomplices. Some were charged, others backed off once they realized legal consequences were real. Through it all, Bella was a beacon of hope. Her laughter, her first words, her stubborn refusal to let anything dim her joy. One night, Terrence appeared at our door, eyes red. I believed her for too long, he admitted, handing us a stack of journals. "She's been planning this for years, not just against you, but all of us." In those pages were fantasies about kidnapping Bella, manipulating relatives, controlling every aspect of our lives. Detective Scott added premeditated kidnapping to the growing list of charges. We weren't alone anymore, and the final battle, the trial, was about to begin. The trial was brutal, like living the nightmare all over again, but this time, we had an army beside us. On the courthouse steps, our circle of supporters, neighbors, friends, Arya from daycare stood with us. Arya squeezed my hand. "We've got your backs." No one messes with our daycare family. Her twins waved from their stroller, oblivious to the gravity of the day. Inside, mother-in-law's lawyer painted her as a misunderstood, loving grandmother with old-fashioned beliefs. But the evidence was overwhelming. The video of her faking bruises, the journals detailing kidnapping plans, the testimony from Marcus and Terrence about a lifetime of manipulation. Each day in court was exhausting, but also healing. We were finally telling the truth where it mattered. Mother-in-law herself took the stand, icy composure cracking as the prosecutor handed her a leather-bound journal. "Here you wrote about taking your granddaughter to a deprogramming camp in another state." "What did you mean?" Her voice rose, "to save him from this transgender nonsense." "Someone had to protect Owen. The child's name is Bella," the prosecutor replied gently, letting her own words speak for themselves. It was all there, her denial, her obsession, her refusal to see reality. The jury deliberated less than 4 hours. The verdict: guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison with mandatory psychiatric treatment and strict no-contact orders for our family. As the bailiff led her away, she looked back at us, ice cold and defiant, still convinced she was right. For the first time in months, it felt like we could breathe. That night, surrounded by friends and family at our house, we passed Bella from arm to arm, her giggles filling the room, the word safe finally feeling real. Marcus pulled me aside, showing me old photos where mother-in-law had cut my face out, reminders of just how long she'd been obsessed with control. Later, when everyone had gone and Bella was asleep in her lavender room, my husband and I sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies blink against the dark summer sky. The gentle creak of the swing and the distant hum of crickets felt like a new beginning. "Do you think she ever changed?" I asked softly. My husband squeezed my hand, silent for a long moment. "No," he said quietly, "but we have. We'd built something stronger than her obsession could break, a family bound not just by blood, but by resilience, truth, and unconditional love. And whatever came next, we knew we'd face it together."